Hey y'all, welcome back to Ryan and Robert Rants. Today we are continuing our ranked series. We are covering the Mission Impossible franchise. And Robert, which one are we going to be doing today?
We will be doing the third entry, simply titled Mission Impossible 3.
Yeah, at least they kept it simple for us.
Yep.
Just a number three. That's all we needed.
Yes.
So yeah, just like the previous ones before, we're going to be discussing the movie. We're given a little summary. We'll go over some notes that we took throughout. And then at the end, we'll give our ranking out of 10. And as you see below, since this is Robert's baby and brainchild, what will we be doing down below, Robert?
We will be ranking the series, from the first to the last in this lovely Tiermaker that was created. As you see, we've already have the first and second movies ranked, because this is the third one. So if you have not seen our other two videos, please go check those out and then come back to this one. And then you can see where we're going to rank this one.
Couldn't have said it better. So we did talk previously. Since Robert did give the summary on Mission Impossible 2 or MI2, I'm gonna go ahead and take the reins on this one. So yeah, Mission Impossible 3, for those who haven't seen or don't know what it's about, it is, as we've stated, the third movie in the Mission Impossible franchise. So this one is definitely a departure from the previous two. Still very much action filled. J.J. Abrams is taking control of the reins on this one, and you can definitely feel his vision
Yep.
for this. So the main summary, I would say, for the movie is Ethan Hunt's back, badder than ever. This time he is in a relationship. So
Yep.
something that we haven't seen. Ethan's getting a taste of the home life, but he is still working for IMF, but he's actually a trainer. He's taking
Yep.
on the training role, so he's out of the field. He wants to try to take some semblance of normal in his life. So, of course, just like all Mission Impossible movies, he's called back into action. Um, and the MacGuffin for this movie, as in all Mission Impossible movies, this one is known as the rabbit's foot. So Ethan is tasked with recovering the rabbit's foot, and we are also graced with the presence of a new villain in Owen Davian, played by late great Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Man, he was so good in this one.
He is. He's so freaking good. And the whole movie is just, it's a chase. It's a back and forth. Can he get the rabbit's foot? What is the rabbit's foot? We're asking ourselves throughout the movie.
Yep.
And, what is the conclusion? Will this be the final Mission Impossible? These are the questions that we're tasked with. But that's just a brief summary of everything. And now we're going to dive a little deeper with the meat and potatoes of the actual movie and story itself. So, just as with the previous two entries that we've done, spoiler alert ahead. If you haven't seen the movie, definitely go check it out. Come back, finish watching this. And aside from that, Robert, did you want to start off
I can
with
certainly do
some
that.
notes that you have on your end?
Yeah, so this movie actually starts sort of like what they call like in medias res or what it's like that Latin phrase where it starts kind of like towards the end and then you kind of like go back and see how we got to this situation. So it begins with Tom Cruise kind of like tied up to a chair and um, Owen Davian is like screaming at him like, "Where's the rabbit's foot? I need the rabbit's foot. Like, get me the rabbit's foot." And we don't know how the situation gets there, but we see like Owen Davian like holding, you know, what we've learned is Ethan Hunt's fiance slash wife now at this point in the movie, like at gunpoint, and he's threatening to kill her if he doesn't produce this rabbit's foot. Of course, we don't know what this is. It's definitely not a good luck charm, I can tell you that. And then, of course, and this is like a really intense scene, and I love that they started the movie like this because it's kind of like you said, it is a departure. You can kind of look at Mission Impossible 3 as a soft reboot for the whole franchise and how this movie laid the foundation for everything to come after. Like this, if you were gonna just like this was the first one I watched. And this was like in a time where Tom Cruise's stock was kind of falling because of all the personal drama that was going on in his life in the mid 2000s. Um,
Yeah, and the movies
but
in general, I mean, they
yeah,
weren't really hitting at
so
that point.
yeah, and this one came out like, yeah, Mission Impossible 2 did make a lot of money. It was very profitable, but again, it got kind of like mixed reviews. So this one coming like 6 years later, I believe it was. It was kind of like a surprise, but then like you bring in J.J. Abrams, who's made kind of a career out of like rejuvenating franchises for better or worse. I think this
Yeah.
is more on the better end. I'll still stand by Star Trek. Um, but yeah, so I liked how they started this movie, and then of course it flashes back to they're having a party. Ethan Hunt, we find out his fiance's name Julia, and it's a big gathering, and you kind of get a taste like he's semi-retired slash retired, but then like Ryan said, he gets called back. First, initially, it's to rescue a recruit that he trained, the only recruit he actually um, allowed like to pass into active field duty, played by Carrie Russell. I don't remember
You're
her character's name.
listening, Lindsay.
Lindsay. Okay. So yeah, so they go on a mission and it's like a whole new team. Yes, Luther is back, but he's also followed up by was it Maggie Q? I don't remember her character's name. And then Jonathan Rhys
Myers.
Myers, yeah. So he's the pilot. Maggie Q kind of plays like a ground infiltration, expert, and Luther is like the same lovable hacker that he is. But so they go into this warehouse, they rescue Lindsay, but then you find out like they have like a tracker implanted in, or not a tracker, like a what is it, like a time explosive device in her head. So that's kind of like a ticking time bomb at the end of this mission. And again, spoiler alert, it goes off, killing her. But again, this is kind of important foreshadowing too for later. And then we find out like she was tracking Owen Davian and this rabbit's foot. So then Ethan again goes away and they break into the Vatican to kind of kidnap Owen Davian, classic Mission Impossible style. You got to dress up, use the mask and stuff like this. And it was all a cool set piece. But is there anything you want to like include? Like I said, I loved how it started with like at the end and then it comes in and that first mission, even when they succeed, they still kind of fail, if that makes like sense, because then there's like a lot of blowback on Ethan Hunt and his team at that point.
Yeah, you said it perfectly about the in media res, in res media. I can never remember, but you are right about the phrase where it translates it in the middle of the action.
Yeah.
So I just want to preface with it. I saw this in theaters with my brother and my uncle at Northwoods.
Nice.
And it was like a guy's day out over the summer, and we had a great time, man. Like you said, this movie is like the ultimate action summer movie.
Yep.
It's what I live and what I love for when I go to the movies, especially during the summers. This is the movie that I go for. Like you said at the beginning, we put an explosive charge in your head. That's the first line that
Yeah.
is dropped in the movie. It immediately sets the tone as the darkest opening, a torture scene.
Yep.
It's a torture scene at the
It's like
beginning of the
and
movie.
it's like a psychological torture scene too, because like I mean
Yeah,
he's beat
because
up,
it's
right? But
intense.
yeah, and
Like he
it's
drops you into the intensity,
and
and it's that back and forth, the counting, the
yep,
one,
yep,
two,
two,
three, and it's menacing. You're like, what's going on? I will say that kind of a hot take on this.
make the hot take.
My biggest gripe is I feel like they don't use Philip Seymour Hoffman as much as they should to
That
showcase him as the big
no,
bad.
I agree because
Like he has moments, but nothing that really illustrates his motivations or his evilness.
what he was just a broker, right? Like or
Yeah, like
in a sense,
ultimately he was basically like a broker meets, arms dealer
yeah.
sort of thing. So it's like he has moments, yes, but I don't feel like they really use him as much as they really could to showcase
Because
it.
he commands every scene he was in.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people know him just from like what Twister, like the goofy Dusty, and then
Yeah.
it's like he was coming off his Oscar win, and like he just the you think, okay, Tom Cruise is larger than life, and then you got Philip Seymour Hoffman coming in and just like literally just chewing up, commanding like every scene, even from like Tom Cruise, like he's the one kind of towering over Ethan Hunt. And I was like,
Yeah,
man, you
and they
could have
worked
just
together before this, which I
yeah,
think is even cooler in Magnolia because
yep,
he was like a main staple for Paul Thomas Anderson, like Boogie Nights, The Master, Magnolia, and
yeah,
he every character he plays in those three movies completely different,
yeah.
like completely different characters. I'll even throw an even older one out, Patch Adams. Like I
Wow.
love him. I love him in Patch Adams because it's like you said with Twister, completely different character. He's
Yeah,
very smarmy and very, very proper.
yep,
And like just that line, I can't get her to eat. Like it's such a great scene.
yeah,
Um, I miss him, dude. I
yeah.
miss him so much. Like there's so many things that we did not get
And
to
he was only
experience him
like in his
in.
40s too, right? Like
Yeah.
he was really young, like in the grand scheme of things, yeah, he was young, but like his performance in this movie was really good. I do like you said, I wish there was a little bit he did a little bit more, or at least they wrote
Yeah.
more for him. And maybe they did, and they just edited it out. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because this movie's like only two. I thought this movie was a lot longer than it was, but it's only about 2 hours
Yeah,
long
because a lot
and some
happens in this
change.
movie.
Yeah, like, and having said that, so continuing on, coming back to that about how a lot happening, there's something I do want to say in just a moment. One
Mhm.
thing I did want to preface is this is when we start getting into that time when Tom's age is really starting to creep in. Like
Yeah.
we're starting to see him get a little older. Like Ethan Hunt is not, babyface Ethan Hunt that we saw in Mission Impossible 1. He's not, that young, suave, like
Whatever they
heartthrob
were,
type in the
yeah,
second. Yeah, whatever
whatever
they
they
were
were
trying
they
to
were
go for
doing.
the second one. And also short hair again.
Short
We
hair.
get short hair Ethan. So I was
Wait
all
for
about that.
and you wait for
I was
Ghost Protocol when it's long again.
yeah, like the back and forth, back and
Yeah.
forth. Speaking of Rabbit's Foot, Greg Grunberg shows up, JJ's other Rabbit's
Staple.
Foot.
Yep. That's his character. That's his guy.
And this is also, like you were saying with the party, this is also where we get the introduction of lip reading
Oh yeah, that is true.
because
And
we haven't seen this.
that
Yeah,
plays in a later. I think it's in Ghost Protocol when
yeah,
he's lip reading Russian, right? Which is
yeah.
insane.
It
But it
it
just
comes back, but just the
yeah,
fact that it's introduced, like it's like okay, cool. So there's other skills, like it showcases his talents
yeah. It keeps it fresh
as
too.
an agent. Yeah,
Yeah,
like and that's what it is like this one feels very fresh because it feels similar to the first one but intense,
yes,
like an intense version of the first movie. And I forget that Aaron Paul's in this movie.
dude. There's so many people in this movie. Like
Yeah,
Lawrence
there's
Fishburne is in this movie.
yeah,
And
Lawrence
was it is it
Larry
Billy
Fishburne.
Crudup? Like all
Yeah, Billy Crudup's in here.
like
Dude,
there's
like
so many
everyone.
people in this movie.
It's like who's not in this movie? And there was one thing I wanted to talk about the gas station scene. So when he walks into the 7-Eleven, I don't know if you pay attention, you know how I am about background
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So there's a magazine called Scratch, and then there's another one called Slap. So
Scratch a slap.
um yeah, don't know what they could be. I wonder.
Jeez. Hmm. And
But
two
I do like
magazines in
speak
a 7-Eleven.
right.
Hmm.
With those I scratch and
Yeah.
slap. And speaking of Billy Crudup, welcome
Yep.
to the franchise. I like that he's playing the weak guy in this. Like
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
kind of just like the I don't want to say simpleton, but that's how he kind of comes off. Like he's just like the pushover
Well,
type
there's
of
a
guy. Like he's it's sort of like the equivalent of like, hey guys, I'm the manager. You have to listen to
yes,
me,
and
sort of
again,
thing.
like, and there's a throw. I don't know if it's not necessarily a throwaway line, but you can kind of see how he got that position because Lawrence Fishburne, when they're like talking, he's like, "I don't care if your daddy plays golf with the president." So it's like this might be
Yeah.
like one of those nepotism type. Hey, he probably got this job even though he wasn't qualified for it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like what you said. It's like, hey guys, I'm the manager, and you got to do what I say.
Yeah, just like
Yeah,
that little, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
shit, yeah, yeah, right. And then of course, that's when he introduces the camera. He tells them, "Hey, we could really
Use some
use
photos
you,
from the
Lindsay."
party. Yeah,
Yeah, and then speaking of, dude, a camera. Ugh,
right.
a
Disposable camera.
disposable camera. Ugh,
What is that?
relics, dude. Relics. I do have a question though about that camera. Did he pay for that camera, or did he palm it on the way out of the gas station?
Man, these are the questions that need to be answered from this movie. I
I'm
felt
just
like he had to have
asking.
paid for it.
Yeah.
Now,
I would
sleight of
think,
hand, he
Ethan's
took
a
it.
good guy, Ethan, right?
Yeah, I
Good
think
Ethan.
so. Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think he paid for it. I mean,
And as you brought up
his make
earlier,
believe job at the what was it the Department of
the
Transportation
the
paid
DMV,
well.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Department of Transportation.
Yeah,
I think
where
it's the DMV.
he's like reading, he gets to read traffic patterns, and
Yeah,
honestly, like the
yeah.
way he
It's
described it at the
amazing what they
party,
could do.
yeah. But I'm like, when he sold it, I was like, you know what, that does sound kind of interesting, but it's probably not like at all.
Oh yeah, dude, he would be perfect for recruiting people to go
Oh yeah,
work for the DMV.
and it's weird because I saw like totally off topic to this, but I saw like a video. It was from a cam on a highway. It's like how traffic jams start, and it's just casual cars going down the highway, and one car's over here, and it needs to get into the exit lane over here, so it kind of stops, and that was it. That caused the traffic jam.
Yep,
So when he says his lines like, "Yeah, it's amazing what this car can do, and it causes like traffic," and it was like he's not wrong though. Like
it's a ripple
it
effect that you can track like
exactly.
ripples in a pond.
I know, and it like, and I saw that video. And it's like it actually happens. He's not wrong.
It's
So
true.
like,
It's literally cause and effect.
yeah.
It's literally cause and
So
effect.
when I heard that line, it just made me think of the video. It was like, it's like, man, he put a lot of like research into just this cover
Yeah.
to like tell these strange people.
And like you mentioned earlier, speaking of rabbit's foot again, JJ's other rabbit's foot, Carrie Russell,
Yeah.
Felicity in the house.
Yep.
So, like you said, we get Luther and friends, love Maggie Q and John Reese Myers in this. And like you said, we get into the rescue. The thing I like about this movie, straight to the rescue, no
Straight
beating
into
around
it.
the bush.
Yep.
13 minutes in, I looked up the time. 13 minutes into the movie, we're already in the rescue scene. But dude,
Yeah.
that rescue scene, lens flare
Oh,
galore.
I mean, typical J.J. Abrams.
Yeah, I mean, he has to have his staple,
That's
and
why
his
Star Trek
staple,
was perfect for
unfortunately,
him.
I while we're on that subject of the rescue, one of the things I found interesting when they're trying to see like which room she's in, vascular ID confirmed.
Yes,
They have a camera that confirms her
man.
vascular ID.
I mean, sure,
The future,
right?
right? The future.
I don't even know if that thing exists now, but back in 2006,
Hey, like they say, the government has all the technology that's like three
I mean,
generations ahead of us.
do we
we,
do we all have our own
we don't
unique
know.
like vascular ID? That's kind of creepy.
Apparently, we do in the universe of Mission
Yeah.
Impossible. And speaking of, I do like him putting on the glasses, execute, and then just like oh, dude, Luther with the
Oh
guns,
yeah,
the terminal, and just has the mouse. He's just like rotating them, just
just causing chaos.
yeah. Like again, sets the tone for J.J. Abrams because I don't know if you ever watched Alias when it was
Yes.
on and stuff like that. Yeah, so like yeah, when they went off on that show, they went off.
Oh yeah.
So we also get our little Pulp Fiction scene when he finally gets to Lindsay and he jams the adrenaline into her heart.
Yep.
Dude, I forgot Eddie Marsden was in this movie.
That's what I'm saying.
Like casting director had fun with this movie.
Like man,
I will say we do need Perry Russell in more action movies because I
yeah.
feel like she held her own just for like the brief moment
Oh
that she
yeah, she
is
was
in
great.
here.
And
Like
I know
just
that.
this and like one of the only good things about the Rise of Skywalker, even though she doesn't really do much in there, but she looks cool.
I forgot she was in that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you never see her face; you just see her
No.
eyes the entire
See,
movie.
and I get sometimes why they do that is just in case if they want them to play another character. you can bring him in back, to do another character. That's
Well, it
what
was a J.J. Abrams joint too, so I mean, he
that's
wasn't gonna
true.
not have Kerry
That's
Russell in
true.
Star Wars somewhere.
That's true. And I honestly forgot he directed it.
Yeah,
Just want to forget
and
that movie.
just as soon as we're saying hi to Kerry Russell, like you said, we're saying bye to her just
Just
as well. Her eyes, dude,
oh man,
after that
just
explosion, just
yeah,
it looks like a dead fish. Like
yeah.
she's got the dude, they did so good.
Because you expect them the mission's succeeding, and they get out, so you expect them to you expect Ethan Hunt to save his recruit, right? His
Yeah, to
top recruit,
succeed.
exactly, and then to be short by a few seconds on the defibrillator,
I think
and
it
all
was
of
like 10 or 7
something
seconds.
like
And then
it's
her
just
last words, dude, thank you.
thank you,
And then you hear that little
done. Yep,
like
and it's just like you're like what?
it's so violent, like
Yeah,
in a crazy way. I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, oh my god. I was like,
yeah,
oh.
like literally, like it's violent, like it's showing someone's brain essentially getting like exploded kind of, but like you don't see anything. It's just like gone. 1 second there, gone.
Yeah. And then, like you said, we cut to Larry Fishburne joining the franchise. I mean,
Yep.
not as a main staple, but it would have been nice.
Right.
Um, I love that line. He provides. Like only he could deliver that line. Like
Yeah.
like it feels like that was his thing, like his addition to it. I do have a question. So when he says to them he's got to go notify Lindsay's parents that she died in a car accident,
Yeah.
do they actually have to go out there and fake one?
I mean, I'd imagine they'd probably have to create like news articles or something that you could easily look up.
Yeah.
Because we've now entered the time where everybody has access to the internet. So I imagine you'd actually have to like fake articles and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean they probably already have them created. Like that's like probably one of the first things they do when they recruit agents. It's like, hey,
We have your death set up.
we got your death just in case, and then we just change the dates, and
it's part of their orientation when they join the IMF. They have to write their own obituary.
Right? How would you like to die? Easiest is car crash.
Yeah. And then we cut to her funeral. Ethan's having the flashbacks about her and whatnot. That's when he gets the phone call.
Yep.
Is this Mr. Kelvin? Which, if you pay attention to J.J. Abrams, that's one of his Easter eggs that he puts in every single one of his movies. Kelvin in some way or form. Kelvin has always worked into the movies, even the shows. I want to say it was an Alias as well, but it's been a minute since I watched Alias because I was watching it when it was on TV.
Yeah.
So it's been a minute. But this is also the first and last time we see the IMF headquarters.
I was going to say, yeah. Because then later on it's like it gets like disavowed or like whatever so many times. It's just like, does this agency even exist anymore? Or like are they literally like the only agents now?
I honestly didn't think they had a headquarters. I thought they were just always out in the field and they were just like receiving the missions however they would. Originally on an airplane or climbing a cliff with a guy in a helicopter just shooting it out to the side with
more
some
sense.
glasses
like an
that can get
offshoot.
thrown.
There'd just be like one guy in like a small office like directing everything, and then
it all just happens to be
all
the
missions,
DMV.
Right. Under
Speaking
the DMV.
Speaking of hi to the IMF headquarters, hi Simon Pegg.
Oh yeah, see, exactly, just another one.
Yeah, like he's joining the franchise as a main staple.
As a main, I was so glad they kept bringing him back.
Yeah, like he's definitely an addition. There's something, I don't know if I'm gonna say it in this one or in the next one that we do, but there's something I wanted to say about his character. I did write down his line though when they're discussing the rabbit's foot. When he's like, "Oh, we went through the emails and they just keep discussing the rabbit's foot. It's either this or I forget. He doesn't say a rabbit appendage. He says another word. but he refers to it as that, like an
Yeah.
actual rabbit's foot, like the Lucky Charm.
Yeah.
But I wrote down the line that he taught when he's describing what he thinks the rabbit's foot is. He says the world that he had a professor
Oh,
that
right.
that thought that the world would eventually be eviscerated by technology. A compound would be created to what he referred to as the anti-god. So whenever he sees a rogue organization willing to spend this amount of money on a mystery tech, he always assumed it's the anti-god. So I wrote that down because, like you said, this sort of resets the franchise. This one does,
Hmm.
at least, and I feel like it's sort of like we get little inkling, spoiler alert, of what's coming in the future installments with
Yep.
that line, because I never really paid it, like I paid attention to it before, but not as close attention to it as I did this last time when I watched it, and I was like,
Because
hmm,
like this has been my yeah, this has been my first rewatch of the entire series since Dead Reckoning. So it's like
oh wow,
I watched all of them before to prepare for Dead Reckoning, and then when I watched Dead Reckoning, it's like okay, now well, let's rewatch, and then that's when like you catch the line in the first one, and then you catch this
yeah,
line. It's like, and we never find out what the rabbit's foot is.
no, but it makes you wonder if it's coming back.
Is it coming back? Like, is the AI tech from the first one that Luther mentions somehow connected to the rabbit's foot and the entity from Dead Reckoning? Like, it's just I don't know. Like, they had like a huge sandbox to play in for like the final two movies. That let's see what they actually bring back.
Yeah, and it's gonna be interesting to see. I wonder. Part of me wants it to, but then there's a part of me that no, it feels kind of cheap
Yeah,
if they
it,
do it. But
it's
I
how
mean,
they
either
do
way,
it.
like I feel like if they do it right, then
Yes,
I'm cool with it. But if
it'll be
not, I'm
it'll
like,
be a it'll be a cool payoff for like what 30 years of movies.
yeah, like I said with the what we had talked about before, I think it was in the first one. Is I like that with the later ones they do have callbacks to
Hmm.
like the first movie. I don't think they've called back anything from the second movie, but at least the first movie, which is nice because it feels good as a lifelong fan of
Yeah,
that movie that it's like, hey, here's a little shout out to that and here's a little payoff for it. And from here, this is when we start talking about he goes to see Julia at the hospital because now this is when they find out that Damon's gonna be at in the Vatican.
in the Vatican. Yeah.
Like he's going there because the deal's gonna be going down. So of course, he has to run off again. But Julia doesn't know what he does
Yep.
for a living. She just thinks, DMV guy, traffic patterns,
Yep.
all that stuff. So um the thing there's two things that that I wrote down. So the conversation that they have on the rooftop when he's like, hey, I have to go, out of town again, business trip and stuff like that. And she gives this look like she's like, oh, business trip, huh?
Yep. Sure,
Sort of
buddy.
thing. Yeah, and
Mhm.
then she asked him, or I love what he says to her. He's like, I need to ask you for something, like, it's the biggest thing. He's like, I need you to trust me. And then she says, am I ever going to be able to ever understand what this is? It's given off of fair vibes.
Right?
The whole scene gives off of
Yeah.
fair vibes. But I also look at it too as like he's dealing, the whole thing with Lindsay and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I love that his reaction and response to it is, my friend died, so might as well let's get married.
Yeah.
That'll solve everything.
Yes.
And then, it cuts to them making love in the hospital like it's Grey's Anatomy.
Of course.
It's just, but then yeah, that's all I have like as far as that. So we're caught up now to the Vatican scene. Did you have anything like as far as the Vatican scene goes?
No, but like I always enjoy like the when they do like the infiltration or so this is like their big mission, right? They're like the impossible things, like, oh, it's like breaking into the CIA. Now they got to break into the Vatican, and it's always nice, like how they go about like these like, again, impossible missions. So they kind of staged like I think they were driving a DHL truck, and you see a DHL truck
Yeah.
in this movie like so many times. So they staged that, and it gives like Ethan time to like grapple hook over the wall and stuff like that, and then he does the little suspension from the cable afterward, and then he undoes his uniform and becomes like a priest or whatever it was to
Yeah.
infiltrate. And then Luther comes in, I think, through like underwater, and it's always nice. And then that's when they Maggie Q comes in. She spills the drink on Owen Davian to like get him into the bathroom to like so they can get him alone. And that's where the whole mask thing comes out, and that they pretty much kidnap him. Which it's all well perfectly played. And then I
It's
don't
a
know
really
how
cool scene.
it
Like
really
I love the
is.
catacombs in the tunnels. Like I
Yes,
love them
just
being
like,
down
yeah,
there.
that like the old history of like it's I, and this is where you start to see it more with Ghost Protocol, but I feel like with it kind of starts here because again, this is where this movie kind of like we said reboots the whole franchise a little bit in a sense where this is where every movie kind of becomes it copies more of what this movie starts, and in this one the locations become the characters itself.
Yes, because they actually use the
The locations, yeah,
locations.
they did it with the first two, right? But this one is it's more, it's done more so like the environment plays a factor in what it goes on, like what like the driving in the streets, the flying of whatever it is, like the locations play an important role, and it's like they are its own living breathing character. And you kind of get
Yeah.
you kind of get a little bit of that with Vatican, because I mean it's the Vatican, but then you see it more in further movies. But anyways,
Yeah. Like I
yeah,
love when John Reese Myers is running through that hallway and you just see
yeah,
him like cutting through everything, and then it cuts to them crawling through the catacombs and just setting up all the stuff. Like
yep,
it just looks cool. Like you said, it's a living breathing character, and you get a sense and a feel for the space
yep,
of where everything is. Like just when Ethan's climbing up when he's dressed up like Davian, and he's like, oh, almost there, almost there.
yep. But yeah, they end up kidnapping him, and they're on the flight back, and that's when we kind of get a little unhinged Ethan because he's trying to figure out what the rabbit's foot is. He dangles Davian like out, like not outside, but they open up like I guess a cargo thing, and he's like dangling him outside, and it's like it's
Yeah.
you don't see this. I mean, we do see Ethan kind of we get that unhinged kind of like where he's shouting, but this time he's like you think he might actually just drop him like straight up.
Yeah.
And again, it's like a rage thing because his recruit's dead because of this guy.
Yeah, I do have an issue with this scene. There's one thing I have an issue with, and it's that Luther screwed up by calling Ethan by his name, especially during the interrogation.
Yeah,
I'm like, dude, like he may be bluffing.
yeah,
Like
and
let
he
him do
you know
his
Ethan's
thing.
bluffing. I mean, again,
Yeah.
he plays it where maybe he's serious because again, it was a
Yeah.
star recruit. But yeah, like Luther should know his friend.
Yeah. So that's like I said, that's the one issue I had. And honestly,
If you
that's
had made it
kind of why Julia gets
yeah,
kidnapped.
if you would have made it like another character, like that would have been more believable, right? It didn't have to be Luther because Luther should know.
Yeah.
Like if it was like Maggie Q or Jonathan's character, like all right, that's 100%
Yeah, and it's
believable.
just Spycraft 101 though. You don't
Yeah,
use
you don't
actual
use your name. Yeah,
names.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Call him.
come on.
You can literally call him Tom.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, but you know what? It does cut to the bridge
The
sequence,
bridge scene,
which
yes.
yeah, True Lies called. They want their sequence back.
What'd you think about the bridge sequence?
So I enjoy it.
It's
There's
enjoyable.
some
Yeah,
things that I do have. I did take some notes on it. Like I said, just True Lies
yeah,
is all I think about when I see this scene. So when the helicopter pans up behind Ethan, all dramatic and whatnot, they could have taken the shot at him right there.
yes,
Just eliminate, boom, it would have been done. Um, the guy that's driving the car, that's holding Davian. When Ethan gets to the door and he's like, "What's going on?" And then he gets lit up to the thing, and he's like, "I need to get the prisoner." I will say one very big thing about this scene: the shaky cam is way, way out of control in the sequence.
Yeah, it was a
It
little
is like
much.
way, way too much. Like even with like the first
It was like Paul
like 10
Greengrass like
seconds,
levels.
the first 15 seconds, as soon as like the rocket takes out the car, like it's just like
Yeah,
that.
like
And even
you
I was
can
getting a little dizzy. I
you
was
can
like,
do you can do that scene without going like overboard with it. Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you're trying to add like some tension to the overall this scene, right? Like you want it to be chaotic, but you don't have to take it to that level. And I think
yeah.
you kind of see, like I said, that's kind of like Paul Greengrass, like Greengrass is like kind of
Yeah.
thing
Oh
where
man.
he does it a little too much.
I need to take some nausea medication right before I watch the Born Supremacy
Yeah,
and the Born Ultimatum. But yeah, I
especially.
mean that's pretty much how I feel about the bridge scene. What about you? How do you feel about it?
I mean, I thought it's a really good scene. Yeah, the shaky cam is done a little too much, and what I liked is like the scene didn't like last longer than it should have. Like I thought it was the perfect duration of it. Like you see I don't know what kind of drone it was. I just call like every drone I see like that a predator drone. I'm not a military expert. I don't know what they're called. But
Yeah.
like yeah, they take out like two, like basically trap them on the thing, the bridge, and then of course the helicopter comes up, and he ends up shooting down the drone with like whatever automatic weapon it was.
Was it a
Something, yeah,
G36 or
something,
I
yeah.
forgot what he says.
But I felt like it didn't last longer than it needed to. But it was also just kind of strange in a sense, like what happened to like all the surrounding pedestrians? What was the aftermath of it? Because there was had to have been some casualties on there.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, a lady takes a bullet to the knee, I
Exactly.
think, or
Like
the
that's
leg.
all we
She's like,
see.
ah.
That's all we see. But like this is like I'm assuming a well traveled bridge.
Oh yeah.
Like give me some like Final Destination 5 vibes where it's like you see the
I want to see a body falling off the
right
bridge or something.
PG-13. I'm sorry, we can't go that far.
I
But then
mean,
that's
come on.
when
Hey, War of the Worlds was PG-13 too, and we watch people turn into
that's
dust.
true. It's probably because there's just no blood.
True.
No, the sound those things made were freaky though.
Yeah.
The sound mixing in that movie was pretty good. Anyways, um, but yeah, so Owen Davey gets away, and then that's when Ethan gets a phone call about I believe Julia or whatever, right? They like kidnap
Yeah.
Julia, so he like rushes to the
Yeah.
hospital. He ends
Welcome
up
back to the
getting
movie Aaron Paul.
yeah. He,
Yeah,
he
your friend called. He was looking for
yeah,
you.
and then he ends up
And
getting taken by the IMF because that's just what we do because Ethan has to go rogue at some point in all of
I
these
do,
movies.
I do want to say Julia was way too calm when she had that knockout thing placed on her arm, and she's like, "What's that?" with a
What's that? Like,
smile.
yeah, like,
Yeah,
huh?
and she's just like, "Oh."
Yeah. It's
Well,
fast
way too calm and trusting.
acting.
But yeah, when he does get taken, dude, a Volkswagen Bug,
Yep.
Volkswagen Bug. That stun, dude, when they shoot that first initial stun and it hits that car, dude, it shoots that smart. I'm like, God,
Yeah.
like it looked lethal, man.
And he ends up taking like, and what he gets like what like is it 48 hours to find the rabbit's foot?
I believe so. I
Yeah,
because I remember he says last time I saw you, you had a watch on.
yeah. So he ends up getting like 48 hours to find the rabbit's foot, and then that's of course when he gets taken by the IMF for like interrogation, and they like literally have him strapped down to like a gurney. He ends up
The
using
mouth reading comes back.
yeah, yeah.
Look at me,
Because
Ethan.
when Crudups character comes in, he's like, "Look at me," and he's like mouthing something. Yeah, he ends up going rogue, breaking out, and then flying. I think to is it China somewhere, Shanghai, Hong Kong, something. I don't remember the city.
Yes. So they do have like the brief elevator scene. It did give me an idea, inspiration for a new video that we should do. Top elevator scenes. So I'm thinking Winter
Winter
Soldier,
Soldier's
this
up there.
one, Speed, Die
Yeah.
Hard with a Vengeance, Devil.
Oh God.
Like so I mean, like there are options. So I wanted to put that out there to
There's a
you, an
wide variety
idea.
here.
Exactly. I
Call it
never realized it until I was watching it. I was
can
like,
call it going up or going down. The ones going up are the better elevator scenes. The ones going down, not so much.
hey, but during this scene, we also get Ethan doing a Lawrence Fishburne impression too.
But I like when he put the radio by the boombox too. What was his playing? Staying Alive. Was it Staying Alive?
It was a We Are Family.
We are. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But then, yeah. So you want to fast forward? Were they like? I can't remember what city they're in.
Well, they go to Shanghai,
It
but
was Shanghai,
I
right?
did want to mention something real quick at the airport because it does cut to him going to the airport. So when it switches to the airport scene, they're holding on that shot of the brunette with the curly hair like for a while. It is in slow motion, but they're holding on her for a while. All they needed to do was just pull back and show Ethan in drag, and it would have been perfect.
He's like, all my other identities got flagged or whatever. This is the only one left,
Svetlana.
right? That would have been hilarious.
But yeah, they like you said, they end up going to Shanghai. And I do like Luther has a subtle reference to Langley from the first movie when they're
Yeah.
talking about the building and the security.
Did you
So
write it down?
I did. I didn't write down exactly what he said, but he said so I think it's something along the lines of Langley was a piece of cake or like a
Yeah, yeah,
cakewalk compared to this, and I was like, oh hey,
yeah. And then, but you also another thing we get to see with this is like Ethan's. You can see the planning of everything in his mind because he was like, "How do we get into this building? Like they can't just go
I
in." And then
love
he's
him
like, he's
drawing it,
drawing it on
dude.
the window, and it's like, all right, so this guy's also intelligent when it comes to like the physics, right? So it's just like it's
Yeah,
just again another added element to a highly trained agent. And he's just like, but what if we
I
swing?
agree.
And I think that's what they call a fulcrum,
Yeah,
which I was like, all right. And then I mean, I don't know if he did this stunt. Like I don't know what was all practical, what was whatever, or like I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually had him swing from a building.
I feel like at least that jump,
Yeah,
that initial jump off of the building was.
yeah. And then
If
yeah,
not, it looked real good.
it did.
But I will say he's so lucky he didn't break that window pane when he landed on that building.
Yeah,
Because it does break, like it cracks initially, but I mean, he falls through that thing, it's over
yeah. The
before
whole
it even
mission. Yeah,
starts.
I feel like they'd have to be strong, like because I don't know, but yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, and I do like that he says like when he initially gets on the building, he says he'll be out in 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden it does cut to Maggie Q and John Reese Myers. They're just chilling in the car, but
She's
she
doing a
does have a
prank.
line that says that it's been 12 minutes. He's got 5 minutes left. So it also means that it took them 7 minutes to get down from the top of that building all the way down, drive the car all the way to that park.
Yeah,
So I do like they at least account for that time. But like you said, yeah, she is praying.
yeah. And then he wants to learn it, and that's when you get like the. I kind of like that they didn't show the whole infiltration. Like all of a sudden it just cuts. He's like, I'm compromised. I can't make it to the roof, and he just you just see him like base jumping out of the window, and it's like not going well. It ends up succeeding because again you got to be a lucky agent to be an IMF agent. Luck is like
Yeah.
90% of most of it.
Maybe
Yeah,
96%.
yeah. I see what you did there.
Mm.
But so then yeah, that's when
We
you
get
know
back to the beginning of the movie now.
exactly. Now we're back to the beginning about who what again. We never find out what the rabbit's foot is, but then like this scene keeps going, and then like he ends up getting to 10 on the countdown, and he ends up shooting who we think is Julia, but it's revealed that it's his translator. You're like,
I love the pull that he does where you just see what is it's like half of her
half
face,
her
right?
face, yeah,
It's like that. It looks good.
yeah. And it's like because it like lingers after that shot. It like lingers because you're feeling this dread. It's like, did he fail to save another one of the people like he cares about? And it's
Yeah.
like we've never seen, at least in this franchise, like him like continuously kind of fail. Like it's not something a hero should be doing, but
Yeah.
like it lingers, and it's just like, and then that's when you find out. I think that's when Crudup's character comes in, right? That's when you find out
He
he's the,
does. And
he's
dude,
the
he has a
moral.
line that I wrote down that I
Go
never
for it.
realized that he says. So he refers to Lawrence Fishburne's character as affirmative action poster boy.
But he's not wrong because he said
He's
Fishburne,
not, but I mean, it tells you a lot more about his character.
because Fishburne literally said he had a line saying, "I will literally bleed on the flag to keep those stripes red."
Oh yeah. Oh, dude, that's such a great line too. I didn't write it down, but yes, that
Yeah. So like,
again. I
yeah,
mean, Larry Fishburne can only deliver those lines.
and like, that's what and they cast certain actors that can only deliver these lines. Like we had it with Anthony Hopkins in the first one, and then like John Voight, and I'm blanking on
Well, they
Kingfish.
had Henry Czerny in
There
the
you go.
first
Yes.
one, and
Yeah.
then Anthony Hopkins in 2,
Yeah.
just delivering those lines like they kind of like the a-hole of the movie.
Yep.
You
And
know
then
what I
later we'll
mean?
get Alec
And
Baldwin.
they all happen to be like the ones that are in charge. Yeah, of the IMF. Oh man. But yeah, so actually with this scene when he's talking to Billy and whatnot, he says, I want proof that it's Julian. He's like, what's the Lake Wanaka? And he pulls the phone away. The only way that it works, that he gets out of those cuffs, is that if he has that pen in his breast pocket. If not, how does Ethan get free?
I mean, I'm sure they would have written away something, right?
You know
That
what
was
I
just
mean,
kind
though?
of, yeah. That was just kind of the uh
I mean,
you
just
kind of
imagine
when
though.
it comes to I don't know, when it comes to something like that, just like, all right, we gotta have Ethan kind of handcuffed into a chair. Like, how do we get him out? It's like, okay, well, he's gonna like pick the lock, but how do we get there? So you kind of work backwards on it, and
Yeah.
then obviously we get to, okay, he's got the pen.
Well,
But I
yeah.
mean,
I mean, I know how
yeah,
they
yeah.
got there, but
Oh yeah, but it's like
imagine
you
had
get,
they
yeah.
not. Like,
I mean,
what do you think he would have done? Because is he gonna break his thumbs like right there and be
yeah,
like, okay,
yeah,
let's
100%.
go slip out?
Yep, I think so.
Yeah, because that's the only other thing I could think of, and I was like, yeah, I want to see him break his thumbs.
Yeah.
And then we get welcome back to the movie, Simon Pegg. We
Yep.
paid for you, so we're gonna get our money's worth, and we do.
Committing treason.
And this is where we get Tom running.
Of course, it's where, yeah, and then of course it's the one of this is where it begins, where he's taking like orders from Benji about like getting directions, because then we see it again in Fallout.
Yeah, in
And it's
Fallout, and at the beginning of not Ghost Protocol,
a Rogue Nation.
Rogue Nation.
Yeah.
Rogue Nation.
So it's kind of become also a franchise staple.
Yeah,
Again,
and
this one sets the tone of everything after.
It does. And then he finally makes his way to Julia, and of course Davian's there. Dude, when he is beating Ethan up, there was something that I realized when I was just watching him, just doing it. Philip Seymour Hoffman would have made a great Kingpin.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he has the height, but I mean,
Well,
he
I
has.
mean, in this one he did when he's
Yeah.
acting against Tom Cruise.
Oh, I mean, everybody has the height
Because
against Tom
he
Cruise.
looks menacing, like when he's
Yeah.
wearing that suit,
Well,
and
even
he's just like beating him down, and he is, dude. Like he's
yeah.
beating him down in this movie in that scene.
Like, yeah, he's got the commanding presence, like just from.
And he has the voice though too.
Nothing against like Vincent D'Onofrio, because he was amazing in the Netflix.
Oh no,
he's amazing in
owns
everything.
that
It's
role.
just, but yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I could
he's
totally
perfectly cast, but like he could have also been like a really good contender.
Yeah.
For it, like just watching it, I was like, man. And again, like I said, the roles that we could have gotten from him.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And
But
then, while he's getting beaten down, he looks at Julia, and then Ethan remembers he can fight.
I know, right? Like all of a sudden he's like down and out, but no, the power of love.
Yeah. I didn't hear no bell. Yeah, and then, that's when he's like, okay, get him into the street, and then
Yep.
he thinks quick on his feet when he sees that car coming. He just
Boom. Yeah.
Dude, it's loud too. I like that they have like the shoe roll towards him just to let him know that he's
It's like
dead.
we're not gonna make a dummy and have like what's his name's head just come off at the at the train station. It's just gonna be a shoe.
We couldn't afford the budget to have a helicopter randomly drop into the scene and take him out. So a car was the next best thing we could do. And then during the fight, that's when he had activated the charge in his head. And he's like, you have to kill me, you have to do this. Julia gets her time to shine though, because he shows her how to use the gun real quick.
Fast learner too.
Yeah, she's
in a distressful situation, but I mean, she definitely handled herself better than a lot of people would.
Yeah, it was like, authentic too.
Yeah, she's like, why? What am I doing here? What's going on? Like, she has no clue.
Yeah, the only thing that would have made it better is if, well, I wouldn't say made it better, but at least homage, it would have been the submachine gun scene from True Lies when she drops the gun down the stairs. Now, if we got something equivalent to that, maybe. But like you said, she holds herself pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is when Ethan's like, you need to kill me, but it's okay, you can bring me back, because you work at a hospital.
She's a nurse.
Yeah, and speaking of she's a nurse, I guess when CPR just doesn't work, use your fist to bring them back.
We see it on everything. It's like a new trope, right? To add that dramatic tension. It's like, no, come on.
Yeah. Hey, but it brought him back.
It brought him back. He was going to come
back. Power
back.
of love. And prior to that, like you said, she kills Billy Crudup's character, and he's like, ah, when he dies.
And like, he had the rabbit's foot, right? Because he drops it.
Yeah.
That's when they get it. So it's like, he could have just, I mean, yeah, he would have had to have killed him because he knows, right? He can't go, obviously he can't go back to his life, but he could have just walked away. He had the rabbit's foot. He was made.
Yeah, like, well, he could have walked away, but he could also still, well,
no, he could have.
I guess that's why, gone back to his life, because that's why he was asking, like, do they know about me? How much do they know?
I guess he could have spun it because they already had it where, Fishburne's character was being framed as the leak or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And like, he's like, yeah, I got the rabbit's foot back. Ethan Hunt stole it. He became a traitor. Like, he could have just, he
went crazy after they killed Julia.
Exactly. I mean, I guess he still would have saved him, but I don't know. Like, he could have just walked away, but I guess it was a way to wrap up the film. Like, everyone, But now that we're like discussing, it's like, yeah, he could have just like literally walked away and poof, gone. But
into the.
But again, maybe it is in line with his character because again, he's in a role, he's in a position that he probably doesn't deserve. So he's not exactly, he's not Ethan, right? He doesn't think like 12 steps ahead.
Yeah, he's more opportunistic, but
yeah, he's probably in panic mode. It's like, nope, I got to cut all these loose ends now, and so.
Yeah, well, especially because like he says, he's questioning Ethan when he's like,
yeah,
does he know about this? Does he know me? Am I compromised at IMF? Like, he's just like he's in panic mode. He's like.
And he's probably not thinking like Julia's going to end up shooting him. Like, that's probably taking him. That probably surprised him as well.
Yeah, because he's like, ah. So yeah, this is when they're walking through Shanghai. He tells her, "Yeah, I work for IMF."
That's where it's like,
impossible.
What does
mission.
that stand
for? Impossible mission force.
It's like,
and
seriously?
Even she's like, what?
Seriously? He's like, yeah. He's like, what I'm telling you is classified.
And then we cut back. Larry Fishburne's like, hey, you did good. And there's a line that he drops. He says that there's a job from Washington that they're very interested in speaking with him about. So, I don't know if that ever comes back or
I
what
don't
it
know.
is,
Yeah.
but that was a line that was dropped. And then that's when we get, he
It's
asked
like
Ethan asked
rabbit's
one
foot.
last time. Yeah,
What's
what's
the
it?
rabbit's foot? He's like,
Promise me you'll stay and I'll tell you. So does he ever find out what the rabbit's foot is?
I don't know. We certainly don't.
Yeah.
Maybe
We
he
don't know if he
does.
knows.
Yeah. Maybe he knows. But I mean, again, it's like it could be one of these things that just comes back. Who knows? Like we don't. I mean, we'll get into it when we do our predictions for the final movie. But yeah, and then that you see that, and then this is when the whole team meets. Julia gets to meet the whole team and stuff like that. And it's kind of it's a good happy ending. And then that's where Ethan's like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
because
go on my honeymoon.
yeah, because it literally cuts to them like holding hands on
Yep.
the way out of IMF and then just fades. Like
Yep.
it's like he gets his happy ending.
So if it had ended there, it would have been like, okay, he's just gonna go off and live a personal life. He's out. He's gonna probably start a family and stuff like that.
Which I think originally it was going to end there.
Mm-hmm.
I think they said it was done, but then they realized, ooh, but this movie made a lot of money,
Yeah,
and this
but it
franchise
still
is still
took like,
making money.
and it still took like another 5 years for Ghost Protocol to come out. So it's like, what was the wait? Again, Tom Cruise's stock was falling a little bit, so that's probably what the wait was. I'm gonna look into the production for Ghost Protocol because that was always because it always was like it kind of like sprung up like out of nowhere. Like all of a sudden, Mission Impossible's back. Like, was it always planned to continue, or you know what I mean? Like, it just seemed like
Yeah.
it just came back. And I'm not complaining because Ghost Protocol also
Oh
made a lot
God,
of
no.
money. And again,
Yeah.
like it was a it was a good like it kind of put Tom Cruise back like in the position of being a movie star, like a global movie
Yeah.
star at that point too.
Yeah, because again, it was especially like you said at the beginning after the second one came out with the mixed reviews. No, sort of hesitant, but then that's around the time when he started working with Spielberg. We get
Yeah.
Minority Report, we get War of the Worlds,
Yep.
and then from there he's sort of just jumping back and forth doing his thing, and then I think it just happened to be serendipitous that it was like let's do this. J.J. Abrams is the hot new young thing right now,
Yep.
and he's got a take on what he wants to do with Mission Impossible. And I think that that's what happened. But then from
Mhm.
there, JJ also started getting big as well.
Yep.
We have Lost. He's also working on like these
Oh, I mean,
other
he's
little
producing
projects.
literally everything on TV.
What about Brian? Everybody forgets about
No one cares about Brian.
that. Like I'm like one of the only 5 people in the world who
I
still knows what
remember,
that show
I
is.
remember the advertising for that show because every time it came on, I was like, "What about Brian?"
Yeah, still remember the cast of that show. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it as far as Mission Impossible 3 goes. That's the movie. So I have a question for you, Robert. Out of 10,
Shoot,
you given Mission Impossible 3?
man. Okay, so to recap, I know we gave Mission Impossible a 7. I should probably write all these down. Um, I know I gave it like I think a 7 out of 10. Mission Impossible 2, I think I wasn't gonna go any higher than a 5, so I think I gave it a 5. And again, so this was the first one I think I watched in the franchise, and at the time, upon my first viewing, I thought it was good. I thought it was just like another like action movie. And again, this was like in the mid 2000s where there was just action movies like around every corner, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I wasn't like in depth into the Mission Impossible like franchise, the mythos of it all, and not until like I think Ghost Protocol came out. Um, so for this one, but upon rewatching it, and then you like learn like especially now like this is the one that kind of reset the franchise. So this like I always say, if you want to get into this franchise but you don't want to watch all the films, you could start with this one and be okay. Again, like I would never say to skip the first two, right? But if you started with this one and you watched everything from this one onward, you would be fine. And because again, this is the one like you kind of get like Ghost Protocol kind of being a sequel to this one, and it really takes off with like Rogue Nation afterwards.
Yeah.
So I think with this, and again, and I really love Philip Seymour Hoffman, but I do agree, like his villain was good, but I do think that with him, they could have done more with it, and I think that kind of hurts it a little bit, in my opinion. Not that I'm saying, you know, Philip Seymour Hoffman. No, he was amazing in this movie, but I wanted more of him. So I want to say, after all saying all that, given its this movie's legacy, maybe an 8.5 out of 10.
Oh, that's high
I don't.
praise.
I was gonna say 8. It was gonna be somewhere between 8 or a 9, but I'm just thinking of the other movies, everything. I'd say 8.5.
If it makes
Maybe.
you feel any better, if it's easier for you, the way that I usually rate, especially in this case, I go based off of what came before.
Okay.
Yeah, so that usually helps like me
Well, maybe
determine
if
versus
we're only
yeah.
judging it based off Mission Impossible 2, this is probably like a
N
12.
one, N one.
That's what I'm saying. But
Yeah,
yeah,
off.
yeah. So if we're only going just literally what first one before, then yeah, this is like a 12 out of 10.
Oh man, so 12 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10.
I would say,
I love that this one's like really getting you too.
yeah, because this, I guess, because again, I mean, I don't want to get into too much what comes after, but like this is the one, like to me, like from here onward, they're all, I think they get better and better in aspects of it. So I knew this was going to be the one that's like it's going to trip me up.
Especially since it's your introduction to.
Exactly. So but like, you know what? I'll go with I'll go with an 8. We'll go 8 out of 10. Final answer.
Doo-doo-doo.
Yes.
Wants to be who wants to be a millionaire. Nice, nice. So 8 out of 10.
How about you?
Um, so mine's a little different. Not bad, but the movie itself. So first off, the movie itself, first and foremost, is entertaining. The story is kind of eh. The action, top notch.
Yeah.
It's very much a movie of its era, though,
Hmm.
of the
I agree.
early mid 2000s, very much so, especially with the special effects. So there was an app that they had released around the time this movie came out, and I believe it may have been around Ghost Protocol, somewhere in between that time, where you could actually use your phone to record videos, and then you could use like JJ's commonly used special effects tropes like lens flares and stuff like that,
Yeah.
um to do things. So that's one of the things that pops out to me from that time. Like you said, though, this is definitely where the tone shifted, where it started to shift and become more akin to everything that follows. So, having said that, I'm actually going to give this one a 7 out
Okay.
of 10. And, like I said, the story for me, first and foremost is the story.
Yeah.
This movie, yes, entertainment value for days, but I feel like the story could have been improved on. And yeah, so 7 out of 10. That is
Yeah.
where I
That
plant my foot.
I think that's fair, especially on the story part, because it was like you said, it was a little lacking, especially of what comes later on how more like intricate the story becomes later, at least
Yeah.
with the next couple of films. um,
And that's the thing about JJ Abrams projects and stuff like that, is that it's the characters that are charismatic
yes,
and that you root for and that you want to know about, but because you're so focused on that, the story suffers
a little bit, yeah.
usually.
So
So
he's great at developing characters, giving them like that extra dimension, and he is good at like creating. I don't want to say he always does it, but because Alias wasn't, that was a little bit more, you know, in depth, right? For the story, it wasn't as basic.
It is, but it goes off the rails in the
Exactly.
later seasons.
So, oh
Very,
yes,
very off the rails.
I think I stopped with like season two. Like after season two, is kind of like it just kind of like I didn't know what it was trying to do, and I don't know. Maybe he was off the project by then. I don't really know because a lot of these hot shot people like they create something, they develop it for like a season or two, and then they're off to the other thing, and they leave it for someone else.
Yeah.
Hero. Um, so, but I think, and you can kind of see with Star Trek, he's able to take like a kind of a basic idea for a story, and he adds like the great characters and kind of makes it into a spectacle where it kind of overshadows a basic plot,
Yes.
and which is not it's
Yes.
not a bad thing. It's for the most part he creates
Yeah.
like you said, good entertaining movies.
Yeah.
So, and that's what this one for sure is, and I would totally agree with your assessment on that one.
Thank you. Thank you. So, having said that, now let's get to your baby.
The rankings.
Yes.
Man, this is where it's going to get difficult.
But not impossible.
Not impossible, but not impossible. It's Mission Difficult. We'll get to Mission Impossible later. This is Mission
Difficult should be a
Difficult.
walk in the park for you.
Yeah. Man, I kind of, and I might be a little generous, but I'm gonna yeah. I was like, man, these are. I even took the one with the full movie posters. Just look at the short hair. It's the short hair. I'm gonna slot it here for now.
Oh.
For now. Yes.
It sort of
for
makes
now.
sense that you put it there, considering it was your first movie, just like
Yeah.
I did with the first one, because that was my first movie, and
Yeah,
it ended up in A tier.
And I feel like I have an idea where you might put this one.
You don't know where I'm gonna put this one. I could put
I
this
don't.
one anywhere.
I know.
I could put it anywhere.
Well, we both know
But
it's not going to
let's
be
see.
with DNF. Like, come on, let's be real.
Yeah. Oh God, no.
Anywhere
No.
between, I think A and C is where it's going.
B.
I was feeling, and the funny thing is, like, I think we both agreed with the out of 10 ranking for 2, and then we have, I think you said 8.5 out of 10, or was it 8 for Mission Impossible 1?
So Mission Impossible 1 was 8.5,
Yeah.
6.5 for
Okay, that's right. You
Mission
gave that one a
Impossible
little
2, and then I gave 7 to Mission
for this one.
Impossible 3.
But again, it still like shows we're kind of like in tune with where we're at so far with these first 3. Like,
Yeah.
you're a little higher, but like it's still like, yeah, ours is slightly different on the tier ranking, but I think given like this one, that one was your first one. Of course, it's like it's going to be higher. This one, I wasn't as emotionally attached to Mission Impossible 3 because I didn't really get invested into the franchise until Ghost Protocol.
Yeah. Which is why the next one's going to be moving forward from here on out when we start getting into the new one. It's going to get very interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult.
But not impossible.
But not impossible.
Having said that, thank y'all so much for taking the time to sit with us, go over Mission Impossible 3 today. Thank you, Robert, again for, creating this and, just putting it all together. It's been fun so far. We still have so much more to go. Aside from that, please get in on the conversation. Like Robert says all the time, we want to hear from you down below. So like, subscribe, watch the previous videos as well.
Join us in these rankings, please.
Yes, join us. We want to see yours. We want to see these hot takes. We want to hear from you. We want to see, I'm throwing it out there again. Would he have made a great Kingpin? Putting it out there. It's a good conversation starter. Yep. But aside from that, Robert, you want to tell them about everything else we got going on?
Certainly. So like with this one, we do have our first 2 Mission Impossible videos live on the channel by the time you're watching this. We also have our Avengers Doomsday coverage when we had a video with Sam Wilson and who we think he would be picking for his Avengers team. That video was a lot of fun. It was, similar like this, where we're just like engaging. We have like an interactive, thing going on. It's definitely a lot of fun to make. We certainly had a lot of fun. Hopefully it's a lot of fun for y'all to watch. We also have a lot of movie trailer reactions that we have up, and we have a lot more to come. We also have our Thunderbolts coverage where we do the movie and the post credit scene. We do go into full spoilers. We also have our Daredevil coverage again, live reaction, live review of it. It's a lot. They're a lot of fun to make. We have a lot of interesting takes on Daredevil, so feel free to go watch them.
Couldn't have said it better, Robert. Thank you, and thank y'all for watching again. We'll see you later.